Hello, welcome to another episode of the Inforunners. Today we have a buyer's guide for the RSI Apollo, which is the current COG concept sale of the new medical profession ship. And today we have above me,
I'm Execute, and over to my right.
I'm Al Garrett.
and this is Hayes. And yeah, this is a an interesting ship, but it's also a very niche ship. So I get this as a buyer's guide. How about we start with Execute up top? What do you think of it? What's your impression?
I think it's a very nice ship. I think it's a very good-looking ship. I think what it does well, but I don't think it does enough. And at this price point, I am really surprised it's not an Andromeda. Oh, sorry, and a Constellation variant. What the hell am I saying? Anyway, Al, what about you?
Yeah, I like the look of the ship. I think it's really well designed and laid out. I actually like the look of it better than I like the Andromeda. But I also think it should have been a Connie variant. A Connie Clinic would have been a perfect thing. But yeah, and like you, I don't think it does enough, but it does lots, and it will probably do it well. And Hayes.
I like the ship. I like what it can do. I like what it is. I think it does do enough for what it's supposed to do. I know it doesn't do much more outside of its niche, and I think the real problem is who is this ship for? I mean, if you aren't absolutely dedicated to SNR, this is not a ship most people might be interested in over other ships. It's just it's a suffering from its extremely good success, but in such a narrow field and area, and in a gameplay mechanic that is not going to be fleshed out probably for another 2 years, and the ship probably won't be made for another 2 years. It's just sort of a big wait and see. What is this ship really going to be? We don't know.
Yeah, that's really important with this ship. They haven't detailed out the ins and outs of what the mechanical gameplay entails, and at the moment, from my point of view, all I can kind of see is this is a respawn ship and a kind of little portable doctor studio. It doesn't really have enough. I want to know what I'm doing as a player, and at the moment they've said all these beds are automated, and that kind of terrifies me because I wouldn't want to buy this because I'd just be a glorified security guard watching people come through turnstiles. Oh, he died 4 weeks ago, he's back. Oh, that guy's back again going around. And I'm just sitting in my shit doing nothing.
But it's sort of like
collecting UEC.
When you sell a ship concept, you have to sell what it actually does and the reason why you want to own this ship. And they said it does medical gameplay and it's got beds and hand over your money. It's
so it's like a brothel or a hotel because they've got beds too, right?
Oh, yeah.
No. Come on, it does have the drones that you have to, you ideally you want
Sex
to drive
bots.
around to pick up the patients.
This is a weirdly timed
but
ship,
then-
though. This is a ship they don't need right now. And the reason I can think they want to put this out now is because they don't want to put another mining and salvage ship, which they do need, and they want some variation. But at the end of the day, this is one of those ships that is so far out there from both having real gameplay that will work as well as being actually up for completion that it's too soon for this ship, I think, perhaps.
And I'd have to agree with you. Like, you look at the roadmap, and we know that up until the first quarter 2019 has been set, and there is no medical advancement at all. Not even in the first-person shooter area is there any advancement on the medical gameplay, let alone in what the ships can do. So even if they're putting it on the roadmap in the future, the earliest we'd see it is second quarter 2019, and I can't see it being that close. For me, while the ship might be great and the idea might be great, it's too soon.
Yeah,
I'd rather see it when they're putting more detail into that concept.
They need to bolt down the mechanics on what the ship is going to be and what the gameplay is going to be like, and then when we're closer to that, then this ship will maybe be more interesting. Maybe we'll know exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
From a gameplay perspective, I would have liked to have seen the ability, like they did kind of hint at tier 1 beds requiring surgeons, the ability to actually put robotic arms on people, and like if I'm pulling bullets out of people, kind of a little bit like that old board game Operations, something, even anything would have been, some kind of cool little mechanic where I'm actually operating on someone rather than just automated beds.
Hint at what I'm going to be doing as a player rather than controlling the drone, so bringing it up through the middle so it lines up under the bed and puts the patient in automatically, and give me something to do.
Automatically tries to heal them.
Yeah, give me some detail, even if it's just nebulous. Like, yes, and we'll have you. There'll be some mini gameplay that you'll have to do. Anything.
Makes the doctors look like glorified flight attendants are just going around pressing the on and off button on all the boxes. Kind of like the ones on Fifth Element that are putting all the people to sleep. You know that one? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so would you like tea or coffee with your surgery? It's like...
Yeah.
And then the auto doc does the rest,
So I think that's the problem, and I don't even think the document gave us any detail. It told us it outlined how they were viewing their injuries would be, and the type of facility you'd need to do it, and said this will be able to do all three of them. But that was about it, wasn't it? It was
very skim on details. It's so much so that the only people who should be buying this ship is perhaps people who are dedicated SSNR types. Perhaps people who already own a Cutlass Red. Like, if you want to get the CCU for this, then perhaps this is a ship for you. For everyone else, this is a wait and see ship. I think this is too early.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well.
Okay,
just while we're talking about the ships themselves, really quickly, just to make this really clear for people, triage or medevac, because there are two variants. Which variant are you guys going to recommend? I know which one I want. I just want to...
As far as I'm concerned, like, guns on an SRR ship is like, what's the point? But, having extra armor so that you don't die in the process, that's useful.
Yeah.
But for $25, I mean, all ships are supposed to have upgradable armor.
Yeah.
Am I going to pay $25 for that?
Makes me wonder if it's one of those, like, you get the skin upgrade packs, like, so you get one for the Avenger that makes it the Renegade. Makes me if it's a little bit like that. Like, is it going to really just be these extra guns for $15 and a skin?
The funny thing is, I prefer the red one over the triage white anyway, like that, in terms of a skin.
I do like the look of the red one over the white, but if the extra weapons on the white one, well, they're not really going to do much, as you guys were saying earlier. Like the two missiles, even on the show, the two missiles aren't going to really do much to prevent people.
And also, you're going from lasers to ballistics, so you may run out of ammo. It's just a trade. It really is a trade. They're both size 2s. The missiles, I think you can forget.
They're peanuts.
Yeah.
The only big thing that really counts there is that armor, and it's not too bad when you consider you're only losing 5.
The real question is, why did they bother with two variants that are almost identical in function and need? It's like, they could have been a little more creative than that, Like, why didn't they do one that had tier 3 beds and then one of them had the other side converted to a tier 1, so you had a mix? And you paid a little bit more for that. That would have made sense.
Why didn't they do a doctor's surgery variant?
Yeah.
Again, because they haven't nutted out that gameplay. Everything's auto docs and drones.
Come on, you do have at least the interior they showed us. They did have the reception area. Whether that's still there, we don't know. But
I
it
think
did have a reception area.
Yeah.
They gave us outdated concept art and said, "Oh, it's actually changed." I'm like.
Yeah, he described how to change because they had to make it longer because the components wouldn't fit. So my understanding from that was that diagram is the same there, but it's just...
I understand it as we were too rushed to get the proper diagram out and couldn't be bothered to do it right the first time.
Yes, that was one of my early concept pieces. But yes. What do you guys think of the aesthetics of the ship?
Can we put this aesthetic back onto the other constellations?
Yeah, I have to admit that I wish they could take some cues. But I mean, it is sleek. But the Phoenix is sleek too. But the regular constellations are looking pretty dry compared to this thing.
Yep.
My biggest gripe with the actual Constellation is the landing gear. Like, I don't like how there's no front landing gear thing, and this kind of takes that and fixes it. So, yeah.
It is a little shorter, but I think if you got the engines of a Connie and leveled them up so they're level with the back rather than hanging out at the edge, you've probably got the body of this is probably close to the body length of the Connie anyway.
Yeah.
I like the way this ship, the width of this ship. It's probably got that new width of the Phoenix added in there. It's got rid of the narrow neck. While it's got rid of the 4 engines, I think that in a sense that's a good thing. For me, it was once pointed out that the Connie was actually almost phallic. It was long and narrow and bulbous at the end with these great big engines on the back. And once seen, it can't be unseen. And this kind of removes that. But it's still got all the hallmarks of a Connie. You can see it uses the Connie as its calling card.
It's even got large-sized components, which the Connie doesn't necessarily have. The Connie has 100% medium-sized components. This actually has some serious upgrades in capacity.
And
from
so
scanners to power plant to a few other bits as well.
Yeah. So as you were saying,
I think Hagrid just called this ship a chode. Anyway.
So as you were saying, this is basically a Connie variant. It's not a new ship. It's a Connie variant. It's if you want an even better example, it's a cut down Connie.
Take off all the extras and only put in medical gear.
To flip that on its head a little bit, though, all the variants for the Connies are different hulls, so they are not transferable, so to speak. So therefore, I'd actually probably rather a whole new ship in a way. But realistically,
I'm going to correct you on that. The front of the Connie cockpits are interchangeable.
Sorry, that is correct. No, you are correct on that.
Yeah,
but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like you can't take a Taurus and put a rover in it. You can't take a Phoenix and.
Well, yes, you can.
Sorry,
you can't take a Taurus and put a P-52.
You can't take a Phoenix.
Okay, that's better.
Can't take a Phoenix and make it carry cargo. You can't. Yeah, you didn't let me
unless
finish.
You take the rover out.
I guess you could, yeah, you could. Okay, I'll shut up. You can't take as much cargo there. Got you now.
You can't take as much cargo on the Phoenix as you can on the Taurus, but you can't take a P-52 on the Taurus.
Yeah.
Well, you might actually, because it's got a larger ramp area, so you might be wrong there too.
We're getting off topic here. Anyway, how do you guys find that this ship will scale with the other ships in its gameplay? So I'm talking about the Endeavour and the Cutlass. And I'd also like to talk a little bit about the Endeavour and Cutlass on how this ship treads on their area as well. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about scalability before we get to the Cutlass landmine and we step on that. So basically, the way this scales in ships, there's 2 thoughts that I have towards this. The first thought is that a lot of other large capital ships have their own med bays. Mm-hmm. And they will most likely, whether it's like a small med bay on a Carrack or like the Endeavour Hope having a massive hospital, or an Idris has its own hospital, as it does the Javelin. At this point, those facilities dwarf this ship completely, and the only real use for this ship could probably fit in their landing bays too. But at the end of the day, it sort of makes it only a carrier, a transport at that point.
With how they've explained it, with the auto-docking beds, if that carries across to all medical professions, this ship is dead. Like, before it even begins. It's not good. This is a medical transport ship. That is all it does. And first responder. It's a Philo ship. First in, first out. Or last out. What am I saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's... I don't get where it sits. Sorry, Argon.
Well, if you're saying this is dead because it's a transporter, what does it say for the landmine called the Cutlass Red?
So we weren't going to get to that yet.
Give him a minute. Give him a minute. You're getting ahead of yourself, Hagrid. He's just so eager to tread on that landmine. Oh, my leg.
No, I was pointing out the landmine, so we avoided it.
Yeah, right.
I have real concerns that the large capitals are already treading on this little guy's toes. And the thing is, I think this will work well with the ships that it can dock and hangar. Even if it is just as a transport, I think it'll have some level of synergy. I can see one of these coming into an Idris and dropping off passengers that have, just been downed in their planes or something, and then dropping them off and then going back out again, and still being able to service other ships. The Idris hangar is huge these days.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could still fit another 2 ships in there. A little squeezy, but it could do it.
No,
So yeah,
Oops, sorry.
And I expect
Just
this
'cause I
will
agree.
probably be able to go into the Endeavour as well. I know maybe sorta, but they originally had 2 cutlasses fitting in the Endeavour. I expect that you'd at least get one of these being able to use an Endeavour hangar. It might
And
mean
this
the
is a
hangar needs to be
maybe.
expanded.
Hayes is
because
very
it's a
cynical about
main
trusting CIG.
Well, you see,
Um,
they did not promise us that, yes, this will fit in an Endeavour hangar. They said, we haven't made the Endeavour yet, so we don't know. But maybe it will. Just, so buy the ship. Yeah, but no promises. If we said, don't hold us to a word, though, It's sort of like, that's a
yes, it
complete
did
gamble.
throw a caveat in there,
Yeah, that is a complete gamble. It would be nice if it did. It would make sense if it did, but CAG totally do stuff that doesn't make sense or probably doesn't.
I think it
the
would
one
be
thing they would-
very illogical for it not to fit. Being if
They've
this
done
is an
worse.
ambulance
They
and that
have
is a
done
hospital.
worse.
Yeah.
They have totally done worse, and I can see them concepting this before they build the Hope. All bets are off until we see it.
Yeah.
But I guess we should segue into the Cutlass Red. At the end of the day, we've got this ship. It can fit in an Endeavour hangar, or you can use it with an Idris. Or I think the biggest landmine of the Cutlass Red is, oh yeah, it only has 1 bed now. Buy one of these. Like, what do you guys think of that? That was a landmine.
I thought I do believe actually the forums lit up in the pitchforks were out, the torches were lit. It was almost rioting, and I think.
Has
rightly
anyone
so,
responded
they-
yet on the forums?
Sorry?
Has anyone responded? And it's like, oh no, sorry, it's still got
CAG,
2 beds.
no.
Or
No.
No, you know CIG.
hey, trying to give them benefit
Forums
of
are
the doubt.
burning. We don't respond.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't respond until the crowds go out. The torches are burned out, and then we'll just move on as if nothing happened.
I'm wondering how many forum threads have been deleted or moved or just completely, because they say, oh, it's duplicate thread, oh, it's too negative, or the rest. I wonder how much of that discontent has just gone before it can be seen.
Yeah. The SS. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the monorailers. Yeah.
But go on.
No. Go ahead.
Well, they literally had 4 beds set up there. Only 2 of them were autodocs, but there were 4 beds meant for patients in the original Cutlass Red. The Cutlass Red has since grown and has way more space to accommodate at least 2 beds. And if you only stick 1 bed in that huge area, you think, oh shit, there's all this empty space. More empty space than the Apollo has.
I've got 2 questions.
More empty space than a 600 has.
I've got
Oh,
two
God.
questions because of that. Have they shrunk? Let me ask both before you answer. Have they shrunk what the Cutlass Red can do because they're going to give it more functionality, or have they shrunk what the Cutlass Red can do to make this ship better?
It's both. They've called it an industry starter, and this is where the alarm bells come off. Industry starters are the idea that we're going to gimp the very first ship in order to force a progression curve into the next big ship, which is this ship. And so in order to justify this ship's existence and not have the smaller one tread on its toes, to give you an obvious, I need to move up to this sort of thing, they have purposely gimped this. And they've been doing this with the Vulcan. They've been doing it with the Vulture. They've been doing it with now also the Prospector. The idea is that they're selling these, what should be starter ships, in order to enforce this forced progression curve. I'm really dislike this sort of these moves they're making. And the Cutlass Red is the most blatant and obvious example yet that they've given that this is the direction they're moving in.
And it was even totally unnecessary. Like, you look at what this ship what the Apollo has as its base loadout, which is 6 beds able to treat a tier 3 injury. The Cutlass Red had 2 beds which could take care of those types of injuries. And yet they had to reduce it down to 1 bed so that the Apollo has 6 times the capability instead of 3 times the capability. How, if they had, and I think you said it earlier, Hayes, if they had to reduce the Cutlass by this much, what does it really say about what the Apollo's ability is in the long run? That it had to be roofed back so much.
I think the Apollo is actually like the bee's knees of it really does have some great options to go into the higher end the gameplay. But the thing is, I think what they've overdone is they've had this huge knee-jerk reaction that they have to nerf anything that's under it in order to differentiate and force a progression. And so you go in like to the point where you're in your Cutlass Red and you're like, I need to get off of this Cutlass Red as soon as I can to get to the Apollo, because then I can actually do real surgery.
They actually really, to confirm that and to confirm what we've been saying for bloody months now, they literally said, and these are their words, medium is the sweet spot. And that was after they were talking about larger ships and smaller, and they explained with the largers that when you have larger, you've obviously got to have turrets to defend them, so that naturally makes the queue larger.
I think
the smaller ones are only really for one person, and the medium ones where you can drive them with one person, but you can also flex your crew, so it gives them the most flexibility of almost any of the ships.
And that was in answer to the question that Disco asked. That was, why a medium ship?
Yep.
Why RSI and why a medium ship? And they said, well, large ships, get too big, they become a bigger target. You need turrets to defend them. That means more crew space. That the large ships fall into that category as well.
That's another thing I have beef with this. There's only 2 crew, but there's way more than 2 what 2 people can handle. I mean, at the end of the day, you got the pilot, you got your scanning, you got your drone control, and then you got to have someone who's operating and perhaps a nurse or there's 6 beds here.
I actually think it actually goes the other way, and it actually shows that this gameplay is really limited. Think of it. You've got one guy driving the ship. You got the one guy walking around doing all the other shit. So he's working on the drones. Or if there's 2 drones, the pilot and him both stop the ship, get out, and use a drone each. And then the other guy's driving, and the other guy's just walking around pressing heel on the auto bed. That there doesn't seem to be a lot of gameplay here to me.
It almost sings out that the planned gameplay is automated beds. That seems to be what it says. But given the size of the cockpit area, when you looked at that diagram that has grown bigger, you had one bed either side, you had a toilet on one side, the eating nook on the other, exactly the same layout as a Connie. They could have easily had 2 beds each side and had a crew of 4.
Yes,
easily.
Well,
just like
you could have done
like the Constellations. They have
bunk beds.
The bunks. Yeah.
Easily have done that on each side, 2 bunks on either side, and then had pilot, had co-pilot, had someone controlling the drones, had someone pressing the buttons on the auto bed. It would have also been more in line with that picture they showed of the crew running down the hallway to get to the med bay.
What was it? 4
how many crew were in that?
There's like 4
or 5.
And yet there's only 2 on the ship. So maybe the patients were loose. That's why they were running.
The patients were writing.
You can't heal me! They're out of meds. Anyway.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it just to me says that the gameplay for the medical is at the moment just being seen as automated. It could have been a 4-person ship, which would have indicated there was more actual gameplay down the road for medical profession, but it just makes it seem empty.
Hayes, do you have any CCU recommendations for people instead of or how to buy this ship at the moment? Because I know you were talking about that earlier.
Well, like I was talking about earlier, it's one of these wait and see ships. It's not something you're going to be able to play now for a long time, and so probably the best idea is to grab a CCU and sit on it. Now, if you do that, there's a mini game you can do. You get 100,000 in score. It allows you to buy the second variant, which is the extra armor. And you say, oh, why do I want to pay $25 more? Because you can grab a CCU going from the Constellation Andromeda to
Andromeda, but close enough.
Triage Andromeda to the Triage variant for only $25, and you can sit on that $25 for the next 2 years, or 2 to 3 years, and actually wait and see what becomes of this ship. And so if you really think you have an interest in this, but you aren't sure, because who is sure about this ship? It's so far out on the horizon.
And the reason you get
I reckon-
the reason you get the Andromeda one is because it's a always available ship. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll never put the price up on that one.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
And if you were a new person coming into the game, and this is for you too, Algrid, would you recommend getting something more like the Andromeda? Unless you're really into medical gameplay, is that what you'd be leaning towards? Or
If I was looking at this price point,
in this price point, yeah,
Yeah.
I should point that out.
in this price point, if I was thinking I might be leaning towards this, I'd still do what Hayes says: get an Andromeda, get a get a Taurus or whatever, and get that $25 CCU and just sit on it.
Yep.
And then in the meantime, I've got the Andromeda, the constellation I can use in game.
Yep.
I can do the cargo running. I can do some combat. Down the track, I'll have a P-52 fighter.
Yep. And if you change your
I've got-
mind on the Andromeda too, because it's an always available ship, there are other upgrade paths, I assume, there, Hayes, yeah? So things like... Is there any... What other
You
ships
mean
can you
for
go
the
in?
base model?
Yeah. So from the... If you decide to change your mind and you don't want this ship anymore and you've got your Android upgrade... Android. I'm turning into Hayes. Andromeda upgrade to this, you could get rid of that upgrade and you can turn the Andromeda into it. There are several other ships you could turn your Andromeda into.
You don't have to keep an Andromeda. I only recommend
yeah.
getting the $25.
I'm just saying. I'm saying as a
You don't
new.
have to.
I was
own
saying
that
as a new person, if you were to get a ship around this price point, a really good one to get is the Andromeda because you can turn it into several different things. But yeah, it's all good.
No, if you're looking for a big ship and you want to do multiple things, it's Andromeda's a no-brainer. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the ship pricing on this. The difference between actual credits and CCU prices to Warbond is only $25, which shows that's a fair bit of backpedaling compared to a lot of concepts.
They're learning their mistakes. Yeah.
Because
and there's not too much added extras for going Warbond either. So there's no super.
Well, it used to be like $100
discounting
to $200 price gaps between credits to Warbond bullshit that they were pulling. So they've sort of toned that down. That's very well appreciated. I think they read the mood on that well. This is a well-priced ship when you think about it. It's $225 for the regular Apollo. The Triage is $250, the extra $25 for the armor. I know what you're saying, but this, with the new ship prices and taxes, unless it's an always available ship, this is cheap for what it is. This is a 40-meter, very large. It's a large component ship. The price, I think, is fair. At least is what I'm thinking for a new concept ship. Like at the end of the day, new backers don't have access to the old prices for most of the old ships, and a lot of them have gone up in price since then. And so you really have to reconsider how the landscape is with regards to pricing. From for the last 18 months, if you've come out of nowhere and you haven't realized that old new ships cost more, and old ones too.
Worrying trend though, we're getting more of these niche middle class ships. I would have liked to have. We'll see what happens, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is not a growing trend.
I hope it is a growing trend. I want to see the medium size of this for the mining and the salvage.
Yeah, see those ones I like, but I don't want to see like medium garbage scow or something stupid. I don't know.
If it salvages, I'm not going to complain if I call it.
Right. All right. Anything else you gents want to add?
I think it's something we've been saying we need, those medium-sized ships. So it's nice to see a medium-sized ship. But as we said before, I actually think this is just a Connie cut down.
And the timing is weird. It's like it's one of these ships they don't need for a long time, so it'll probably be on the back burner for quite a while as well.
I'm hoping it's not just due to the fact that they have been doing a lot of work on the RSI, and I know that they want to get the Polaris going next year. I would hope that because the Constellation is done, that this and the Polaris would be worked on next year. But again, I think it's one of those ships, like other ships that have been completed, their gameplay's not done.
Well,
so this will be a ship think about this as a PU ship. If you put this, boom, I could make the ship ready and put it into the PU. It's crap. I can't shoot guns. I can't do anything. It's just
Well,
useless.
RSA have other big ships like the Orion to get through
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. So
And those
That'll be awesome.
mining elements are in game right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they wouldn't push the Orion and the Polaris out before this.
I agree with that sentiment.
Mm.
Definitely the Orion, but I'd still put the Polaris over this because at least you can shoot torpedoes. Sorry, Agrid, you were going to say?
Probably the only thing I'd change on this ship at the moment, at least aesthetically, is the position of that turret. I'd flip it closer to the back.
Yeah.
At the moment, you look at it and the docking clamp actually blocks it firing to the rear. And this is not a combat ship. Where's the turret going to be pointed if it's in any type of danger?
They said
Hopefully it's at the back.
They said it's a PDS turret, but yet it's not able to shoot at the missiles locked behind it while it's keep running away. Like that's just retarded, right?
And where are the missiles pointed? Oh, probably at the front, where
See,
I don't want to be facing.
That'd make it really cool if it was the only ship that had backwards firing missiles, or their ability just to turn the missiles. Would be sick, because then that's a deterrent. Yeah. Get the hell out of my face, off my ass. Sorry.
Back off my tail. But
that's literally what the 890 jump has. Rotatable turrets with missiles.
Oh, there you go.
And I do think that the aesthetic of this is much better than the Connie. But I also think this is just a Connie variant. So, but on that note,
all right then, I think we're wrap it up because it's getting fairly long.
Yeah.
Unless you guys got anything else you want to add?
Again, this is a niche ship. If you're really into SNR, you're in a Cutlass Red, perhaps this is the ship for you. Going up in the world, this will get you into the gameplay that you want most when it finally arrives in 2 years plus.
Or more.
But otherwise, everyone else, grab a CCU, wait and see, play the waiting game, and maybe this will be the ship for you. We just don't know yet.
If you got a question for us on Discord, you can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can shoot a question to any of us or at all of us. If you like this video, like this video. If you dislike this video, what do you do, Hayes?
Not downvote us, please. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. If you dislike it, just dislike it. It's fine. Yeah. I'll
also feel free. Give us comments. Ask questions on the
comments.
Discordia.
The comment section as well, because we do read them. We do answer them. So
he's getting senile. It's okay.
I know. It is true. I'm old, Sonny.
Sorry, Hagrid. All right, this has been.
On that note,
this has been
Hayes.
And over to my right, we have
Algarad.
And I've been Execute. You guys have a wonderful day.
Catch you around.
You guys need to stop drinking.
You mean I need to drink more?
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Probably.
Let's stop drinking cough medicine.